Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, we have a major update in the case surrounding singer D4VD, also known as David Burke, and the tragic death of Celeste Rivas Hernandez. For months, this case has been under intense scrutiny, and now things are starting to shift in a way that could change everything we thought we knew. After months of investigation, sources say that David is officially considered a suspect. But here's the key: investigators believe he did not act alone. According to law enforcement sources, the condition of Celeste's remains and the way her body was stored and transported strongly suggests that at least one other person was involved. Police are saying this isn't just speculation. The dismemberment and concealment inside the Tesla required planning and assistance, something one person alone would have struggled to do.
As a suspect in this case, that may seem obvious, but remember, they have not publicly said anything like that. They have not even said publicly that he is a person of interest. We have spoken to several well-placed sources in law enforcement, and they say that in the investigation, they are viewing him as a suspect. Another thing is they're viewing this as a homicide. We told you more than a month ago that the key thing here is police were waiting to get the medical examiner report back, and they wanted to find out the manner and cause of death. They wanted that from the medical examiner.
We also now know about a key trip David took in spring 2025. According to TMZ and other outlets, David was tracked traveling to a remote area in Santa Barbara County, over 100 miles from his Los Angeles home in the middle of the night. He stayed there for several hours, and police are probing the trip for its potential connection to Celeste's disappearance. Investigators believe the trip could be a significant piece of the puzzle, possibly even linked to where some of the crime may have occurred. The timeline is important. Celeste's body wasn't found until early September 2025, meaning months had passed since this trip. Authorities are now trying to piece together why she ended up back in the trunk of his Tesla in Los Angeles so long after the Santa Barbara visit. Detectives say that behavior like this, moving a body long distances, abandoning a car that tracks every movement, lines up with what they call an overconfident criminal, someone who thinks they're too smart to get caught. Even with all of this, David has not been cooperating with investigators. According to sources, he has remained mostly silent, despite what public relations representatives have said. Meanwhile, police are focusing on others connected to him, and some of these people are reportedly becoming nervous as investigators close in. But it isn't just the physical evidence that has the public paying attention. Fans and investigators alike have begun examining David's music, videos, and performances. Across multiple videos, disturbing themes appear. A character named Itami, who David refers to as his alter ego, appears drenched in blood or surrounded by red strings. These strings are said to symbolize the invisible string theory, a concept David referenced in interviews, which represents connections that cannot easily be severed. In one of the interludes from David's project, there's a conversation between him and a female voice that some viewers speculate could be Celeste. The dialogue revolves around the invisible string theory, an idea David has referenced to describe connections between people that are meant to happen, ties that exist across time and space, supposedly unbreakable. In the clip, the woman says something along the lines of, "Have you ever heard of the invisible string theory? That's why we met. We were supposed to meet, and we're connected in a way that can't be undone." David responds thoughtfully, acknowledging the connection, even as he hints at complexity and loss. She continues saying, "I loved you before I existed, and I'll love you even when I..." Conversation is striking for a few reasons. First, the tone is hauntingly personal, almost as if they're reflecting on something irreversibly tragic. Second, the dialogue touches on themes of inevitability, fate, and lingering attachment, which some interpret as symbolic of real events or relationships in David's life. The conversation ends ambiguously, leaving listeners with an unsettling feeling, a sense of both closeness and separation. What's chilling is how the conversation mirrors some of the broader narrative around Celeste. The words about inevitable connection, love beyond existence, and lingering presence seem innocent in the context of a music video, but when combined with other events and the alleged real-life timeline, they take on a much darker significance. Fans and analysts have debated whether David was using art to process his feelings, to hint at what happened, or simply as creative storytelling. The truth is still unclear. David has spoken publicly about Itami, describing him as an alter ego who represents a darker side of himself, a version of him capable of actions he may not fully acknowledge. In interviews, he explained that throughout the project, he wanted everything to feel connected and holistic. The music, visuals, and interludes were meant to tell a story, but many observers believe these videos may contain hints about real-life events, or at least his state of mind. Throughout all of this, public interest in the alter ego Itami has grown. In interviews, David explained that Itami represents the part of him that enacts chaos or darker impulses. Fans noticed how Itami appears in multiple videos, often covered in blood or manipulating red strings. Some viewers interpret this as symbolic confession or dramatization of control and obsession, which aligns with some of the behavioral patterns authorities are investigating.
An agent of chaos and kind of my alter ego, and the story of the manga went like I was a detective and there was an evil version of myself that would kind of come out at random moments, kind of like Fight Club with Tyler Durden. And he would commit the crimes that I would have to solve as the detective. So like when I was as the detective, I'd be like solving murders that I'm committing myself. And it was like a cool little story. I didn't think anything would come of it. Like it was in the vault for like.
Meanwhile, authorities are continuing to investigate David's inner circle. Multiple sources have suggested that people close to David, friends, associates, and possibly staff, may have known about or assisted in disposing of Celeste's body. Law enforcement believes that some individuals are now worried about being implicated as the investigation tightens. Celeste was often seen at concerts with David, and even by looking at her, you could tell she was Akiled, so the people around David had to know too. So where does this leave the investigation? While David is officially a suspect in the eyes of law enforcement, he has not been arrested because authorities are still waiting on the medical examiner's final report to determine cause of death. Detectives emphasize that their approach is methodical, focusing on evidence and connections rather than rushing to make an arrest. Once the report comes in, so here's the big takeaway. David is a suspect, multiple people may be involved, investigators are methodical, and crucial evidence including the medical examiner's report could push this case forward rapidly. Music videos and alter ego representations like Tommy have become an unusual part of how the public is trying to understand the situation, adding layers of intrigue and confusion to an already tragic story. We'll continue to monitor this case as it develops. Authorities are looking at every angle, including people in David's inner circle, travel logs, and other evidence. And while speculation about the music videos and alter ego continues online, the most important thing is the investigation itself, which is still ongoing. I would want to know your opinion about all these. I hope Celeste gets the justice she deserves.